cursed by the old gods of Bethany. We are four souls destined to review the 1001
movies,
albums,
songs,
and TV shows you must consume before you die. Until then, we are the Immortals.
And this is episode 159.
Woo!
It's 159.
I'm excited because that means it's almost 160. And then we get to watch a cool thing.
Which
That's right.
Wait, which I haven't actually announced on air, have I?
Let's save it for the end.
Oh, true. I've just told everybody else who records this podcast with me, and they are also excited. So, audience.
We're going to listen to Boner Jams 03.
Ooh.
Courtesy of Sarah.
Oh, boy. But yeah, the Pokemon for today. Now, usually I would do...
What do you know?
Usually I would do the
I'm
number
Austin.
9-7. Oh, sure. My name's Sarah.
I'm James Cameron.
Yes.
And we...
JC, how long have you been saving that?
Honestly, I thought of it earlier today.
It's the right choice.
I held on to that nugget.
And we did not have Pedro this week because...
He's been swept away by a great wave.
Yeah, no bit. His apartment flooded yesterday.
So that sucks.
Sad. It really does.
It's really bad. So when he got home yesterday, he called me and said, I can't do the podcast because my apartment flooded. I said, focus on your apartment.
Right.
He goes, I'm not going to have time to watch Avatar. I go, no, do this now.
Was his cat just floating on a sofa cushion?
Well, they have two cats, and they were definitely not happy. I think they handle it better than my cat would.
Our cat. I don't even know what our cat would do in that situation, but it would be. Imogen would just she would just be so angry for so long.
Luckily, it seems to be better than expected. It looks like his electronics are not destroyed.
Or less bad than expected.
Yeah, but
he has renter's insurance, right?
He does.
This is why you fucking get renter's insurance.
Yeah, I definitely today was let me go check and make sure we have renter's insurance.
I've had renter's insurance for years, and it honestly gives me great comfort.
No, I agree. It makes a lot of sense.
So Pedro will be back next week, and we'll do the song next week. He probably won't have Avatar done by then, because we're going to be doing a bonus thing as well, so
yeah,
it's fine.
Hasn't he already seen Avatar?
Yeah, we got to rewatch it.
I mean, I know. I guess he could just talk about it.
He did send us a photo before he realized his apartment was underwater, of him finding an Avatar pinball game when he was out of town.
Excellent.
Oh, right, I saw that.
That was very cute.
God, what a dumb pinball game. Anyway, we'll get to that.
He asked if he could skip the movie review if he beat the high score, and then, of course, did not beat the high score.
So it was a moot point.
Yeah. Anywho.
The Pokemon for this episode is Croconaw. Croconaw is the evolution of the water starter from Generation 2. And all Pokemon that are stage 2 of a 3-stage Pokemon evolution, it looks like an angry teen version of the baby version and the adult version, and it's a weird little tubby crocodile, and it's kind of great. Usually I would do the actual number because that's more random and therefore more interesting, but there are not yet 970 Pokemon. There are only 807.
I've never felt so fucking old.
There are 807 Pokemon.
The 159th Criterion Collection spine number is Redbeard, a really cool medical drama by Akira Kurosawa.
Oh.
I believe in his last
a
collaboration.
Medical drama by Kurosawa?
It's really cool.
Weird.
I believe it's his last collaboration with Toshiro Mifune.
Oh,
Toshiro Mifune is a fucking fox.
Of the eyebrows.
Yeah.
Gladly bear his children.
I was...
if I physiologically could. Well, I mean, I still physiologically can. It's just a lot less likely.
Yeah.
Because
he's
dead.
I'm trying to think of what number 159 I can contribute.
I was reading this book about movies that came out in 1999, and it wasn't a movie from 99, but they're talking about how hard it was to get Bill Murray to do the movie Rushmore, Wes Anderson's trying to get him involved and whatnot. And he finally got a hold of him because James doesn't have an agent or manager.
Right.
Like, they just kind of like
Bill
magically
Murray
get a hold
being
of him. And they had like a 40-minute phone call. He just wanted to talk about Redbeard the whole time. And then goes, yeah, I'll do your movie.
Cool.
Bill Murray is a whole experience.
Is Bill Murray canceled?
No.
Weirdly not.
No, Bill Murray is like kind of a good dude. He's just really reclusive.
Okay, that's fair. I just didn't know.
Yeah, apparently, I mean, like, Bill Murray's cell phone number is apparently, like, of my friends who work in the industry in LA, like, it is a thing that some people have access to and some people do not. And, like, it is, like...
He does... There is a mysterious, like, payphone number that people can get of him. Like, leaves a message that he may or may not bother to listen to.
Yes, it's like a publicly listed number. There was a whole scab item about this a number of years ago. Because
Dan Harmon said one time on Harmontown how he finally got a hold of that number, and he knew he should have made a better pitch, but just one night, after a night of drinking, he did like a long Dan Harmon like ramble to try to convince Bill Murray to play Jeff's dad in Community. Because like, that's what he always dreamed as Jeff's dad, because
that's amazing.
Jeff is based off of Bill Murray from Stripes. So
I didn't realize that.
That was one of the biggest like
influences,
ideas of like asshole
Stripes,
anarchy.
But that, yeah,
it's fine. It's pretty good. But yeah. What was people watching?
Tuka and Birdie, Tuka and Birdie, Tuka and Birdie.
I gotta finish that.
The most JC made show ever made.
Literally.
It is
I think we talked
JC.
about this last time already. I don't really know if I have anything more to say about Tuka and Birdie.
We talked about it a couple episodes
Two episodes ago.
But it is also still very good.
I've watched more. It's incredible. I have never felt so seen by a show. I've never wanted to be in a show so badly. I've also been slowly getting caught up on Killing Eve.
Very good.
All right.
It is the plot. We cannot, my roommate and I watch it. We cannot wrap our brain around really what is the plot this season. But that's like the least compelling part of the show.
We've seen half of this season, Sarah and I.
Yeah.
I think that's about how much I've seen. I might have seen episode 5.
I think the plot is just they're doing things and it's fun. Like it's definitely not as tight as the first season.
Yeah.
But like you just like the two of them and then they do things and it's
it's
fun.
a lot more sexual. Like
yes.
It is. Yeah, I agree.
Like remember,
overtly.
We watched something yesterday. I won't say it because it's definitely a spoiler. Where like something happens and then Eve just like goes and bangs her husband.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is wild.
I mean, the first season was like very sexually coded.
And this season is just like
It's
a
just
lot
like,
of Eve touching her lips and like touching her hair.
Well, that's how the arc of Hannibal went too.
It's
That's true.
It is a very similar show.
Because Hannibal started off gay and then got way gayer.
Is Hannibal on the list?
Yes.
Got very gay.
Hannibal is on the list?
Mm-hmm.
Good, because it's amazing.
That's a great show.
It's so good.
So good. I'm going to pitch Fosse Verdon on FX.
Oh, man.
I've still only seen the first episode. I'm
JC,
stupid.
it's so good. I mean, like,
I really want to see it.
It is. Bob Fosse is canceled, obviously. Like, Bob Fosse, bad
obviously.
dude.
But it is such a, like, amazing miniseries that understands that he's canceled.
Oh, yeah. Well, and we
just
just watched, I mean, it's sort of like, it's not a spoiler, like, they go through the major events in Bob Fosse's life, but the episode we just watched, it's about Chicago, but it clearly is trying to evoke very directly All That Jazz. And we were sort of saying how, like, it was like All That Jazz is Bob Fosse's perspective on Bob Fosse. And Fosse Verdon tries to be Gwen Verdon's perspective on Bob Fosse, which is
cool.
really interesting. It's like a it's so good in terms of like...
As of recording, we have not watched the finale.
We've not watched the finale. I am not always good with shows that don't have a lot of forward momentum.
Sure.
And this is a show that is like, it's like, you know how it's gonna go because like I know who Bob Fosse is, right? And like I know and like especially since it's like it does like sort of proceed linearly through his life and the shows. But it is like the performances are so amazing. that like it is like it's just constantly captivating. Like every like
I mean, Michelle Williams
is like just it's so female. Like it's so I think that's part of it. It's that it's a show that is focusing on a canceled man that actually is from a woman's perspective. So
awesome.
like you see Bob Fosse, and it's not like over dramatized. It's not like he's like the worst person in the world, but he's just a shit. Like in ways that are like, I mean, the last episode was just brutal of like, this man is a person who like doesn't care about other people and particularly about women. And like, or at least like acts that way, whatever his emotions are. And like, but it avoids cliches and it's just so good. And it does a little bit of a la jazz style. Like it does these flights of fancy that sort of are like magical realism, but it's still very grounded. It's perfect. I'm obsessed.
I don't think we've talked about it since we finished it, but Fleabag season 2 is perfect.
Yes, it is.
I haven't seen it yet.
JC,
It's probably
a lot, but also it's the best.
I think it's pretty like the best show of the year for me by far.
It's
I wrote about Fleabag season 1 for Austin's article many years ago.
You did a great job.
And I feel like I am now on the Fleabag boat. I sort of didn't get it the first time I was watching it, and now feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very good. Everyone should watch it, and yeah.
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 That's pretty much it. I mean, like, other good stuff, but
Watch Fleabag.
those are all the best stuff I've seen.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, The Bold Type is really good on Hulu.
You have been talking about that a
Ooh,
lot.
you know what? I have watched
What?
almost the first season.
Bold Type?
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. It just keeps
I
getting
like
better.
it a lot.
So it's this show on Freeform. It's about 3 women who are in their like late 20s or so, mid-late 20s, and they work at a fashion magazine closer to like Vogue than I guess Cosmopolitan, but kind of has like all that what's going on. And you have kind of one working in the writing, one's in fashion, and one's in social media. And it's just about these 3 best friends kind of going through all this, and it's just so respectful of them, their ages, their careers, and their wants. And I'm almost caught up in a few episodes behind now in season 3. I just never seen a show like this about female friendship where, I mean, I don't want to jinx the next 4 episodes I need to watch, but like, there has not been an episode that ends with them having a major fight and like not talking for 2 episodes. Like, it is just like, it's so...
Which is what happens whenever men write female friendship, because
Right.
bitches be crazy.
It's a very distinct difference, and it's such a... Cause like, not that they don't argue, but like, when they do, they have really good open communication about their disagreements, and that's happened a couple times with the show. But really, like, it's just nice to see characters that say they're best friends, and you see them act as best friends. Because, like, even shows I really like The Magicians, every once in a while you have to have the character go, well, I'm your oldest friend. I go, fuck, you guys have barely talked this season.
Right.
I forgot you 2 even know each other. Whereas the Bold Type, if, like, one of them, like, leaves the show, then it's going to, like, not feel the same. But, yeah, I really like the Bold Type. And you
It's
like
great.
it, JC?
Yes, I think I saw the whole first season. I think I watched the season finale. One of my roommates and I she's rewatching it as I watch it. And it's just it's really fun. They deal with some serious stuff, but it isn't like fucking getting your face punched in. It's like fun and like spunky, and like the female friendships in it are amazing. And I don't know, it's just really good.
I love the boss in it because
Oh yes, Jan.
we are so used to like, I mean, like from like her outfit in the first episode, you go, okay, fashion magazine, she's Devil Wears Prada. But no, in fact, she's one of the best mentor characters I've ever seen on TV.
She's so nice.
Aww.
She's nice, but it never ever compromises her professionalism and her like dedication to getting things done and things done right. And yet she's very responsive towards the women around her. I like it. Again, it's too many shows have the bitches be crazy, evil boss. And I want to work for her. Bold type. Our former editor of this podcast, Sarah Rust, recommended it to me, and I greatly appreciate it.
Cool.
Should we get into this episode?
Let's get into it.
So this week, we are reviewing the 970th entries in all these lists, and they're the following things.
We watched fucking Avatar.
The album is Lupe Fiasco's Food and Liquor by Lupe Fiasco.
We are not doing the song this week, or do it next week when Pedro's back, but it would be Pop the Glock by Ufi. And the TV show is Orphan Black. But you all heard JC's enthusiasm. Let's jump right into the movie section. JC, proudly say what we watched again.
Avatar! We watched Avatar.
You Jake Sully?
I'd like to talk to you about a fresh start on a new world. You'd be making a difference.
I became a Marine for the hardship. I told myself I can pass any test a man can pass. All I ever wanted was a single thing worth fighting for.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are not in Kansas anymore. You are on Pandora.
I don't know why. I just really got like an intense fit of the giggles, like trying to think of how to summarize this movie. So, it's the future. We're on some fucking planet that's kind of by Jupiter.
No, it's called Pandora. Let's make sure we get all the dumb names in here.
Well,
You're right.
That is the name in Borderlands, too, right?
It's Pandora because we went there and opened it, and there was some stuff we didn't like.
It is very uncreatively named.
Okay, so white people have gone to Pandora.
To get unobtainium.
To get unobtainium. Again, an incredible name. So Pandora is this, like, gas, like, this planet outside Jupiter, and that has lots of minerals that sell for 20 mil a kilo, and that's why we're here. There's all these military dudes who are like, man, we really need this shit. Of course, there's an indigenous population that lives on this planet called the Na'vi. They are tall blue cats with who have basically like a neural link with the earth and with each other. Where like they can like sort of like tap into to nature in different ways. And they of course don't want these fucking invaders there. And so there's a conflict, and the movie centers around a young man named Jake Sully, who his twin brother was a scientist who is in a project where humans grow Na'vi bodies with their DNA so that they can like link up with the bodies and run them around like Na'vi. So an avatar. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's called Avatar. And so he doesn't know anything and isn't a science and is just such a dumb boy. Goes and tries to fuck around with this Avatar shit. I don't know. What more can I say?
It was filmed in 3D.
Yes.
Is like there's a lot of computer animation that is very good and was extremely well received at the time, and I think is still.
Honestly, hand to God, this is the only movie in 3D I've seen that was worth the money.
I 100% agree.
I've seen 3.
Yeah. 3, okay.
This movie, Coraline, because Coraline used the animation as like creepiness of the 3D, kind of the background being further away, and then Jackass 3D. Because and all three of those, with an exception of like how animation is actually done, were filmed with 3D in mind when they filmed it.
Right.
Avatar and Jackass used actual 3D cameras, was just added in post, which is why some of them look so awkward and terrible.
I think Avatar, other things to know about Avatar, it made $1 billion.
Oh yeah, I'm looking this up now.
Literally.
Worldwide, it made $2.7 billion. Domestically, it made $760 million. I'm pulling up some all-time figures here.
Yeah, it's still, I think, tops some all-time charts, even with,
or
at least close.
It is still the worldwide chart ever.
Yeah.
Adjusted for inflation, it is just 15th.
Oh, wow. Well, that's just because
with inflation,
our movie culture has gotten completely insane.
But just properly, it is third. Oh, wow. Endgame just passed it.
Wow.
Like last week, basically.
And given that Avatar is a one-off, that's pretty impressive. That, like, Endgame, like, obviously has the booster of, like, 10 years of a run up to everyone seeing that. Like, Avatar was a movie that was in theaters, and everyone thought it was so impressive that they went to see it.
So I know
Except the Academy. Womp, womp, womp.
Well, and also, like, it's not that good.
No, but the Academy, like, did love it because this was such a crazy year because everyone was just so enamored by Avatar. I think partly because there was like 2 years of stories where they go, okay, just because the last all of James Cameron's movies were a giant hit, this is going to be the first one that's going to be a complete bomb.
There's blue people.
It makes $1 billion. So it was the front runner for like all the Oscars, like
except it didn't win. Like
that was the
Hurt Locker one,
which was the big Oscar narrative that year, where it was James Cameron versus his ex-wife, Catherine Bigelow.
Yeah,
of
who won?
She won and deserved it because The Hurt Locker is my favorite film that year.
And I thought you were about to say your favorite movie ever. Yeah. I was like, whoa. It was also up against such thrilling films as The Blind Side.
Oh my god.
And Up in the Air, which is a good movie.
Up in the Air is a perfectly fine film.
It's great. I like it a lot.
No,
I don't know if it's best picture material.
No, the one that's bullshit, right, is District 9. That doesn't hold up.
Oh, right. I've never seen District 9.
It's funny because I feel like the 3 movies we've just mentioned, The Blind Side, Avatar, and District 9, all have something in common, which is overly simplistic racial narratives that make us really uncomfortable 10 years later.
Yeah. Do you know what this movie really reminded of? What I kept thinking? You know that, Sarah, has Austin ever made you watch sketches from Britannic?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
There's one that they have where it's like the trailer to the greatest movie ever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like every Oscar
it's
thing shoved in there.
It's every Academy Award trailer, essentially.
Also, I've got to use tough love to help this Latin American teenager believe in himself. Also, I must prove innocent this incredibly humble human male. Also, I've decided to fight with the Native American metaphor against the American military metaphor.
And that's all I could think of this whole movie.
That's
upon
amazing.
Rewatching it.
It also, but I just want to call out what the problem with Avatar is, off the bat, because there are a lot of good things about Avatar, which I will talk about. There's a lot that's really successful about this movie, except that at its core, it is a really, really facile, noble savage story.
Yes,
and doesn't even does not try to subvert it. Has no idea that its narrative is either super cliched or should be questioned or undermined or changed around. It's just we're just doing. Isn't it great that the simple native people have a deep connection that we should basically go in and join and then save them as the white people from a different planet who then literally put on their skins and do the things that they do better than them. Like,
Yup.
like, it's a problem.
Jake Sully fails all the way up into another being's body. Like, that is what he does.
He failed up from his brother dying, and
Oh, yeah.
It is crazy to me on this rewatch. I saw it twice in theaters, like I feel like everyone did, and then have not seen it or thought about it since then.
It's 2009 it comes out, right?
Yeah.
So it's 10 years ago, yeah.
And there's something like I don't know. What really bugged me this time, before we even got to get into the most problematic elements of the white hero savior, is that like when he's running around the first time, and then the dandelions kind of like go on his arm, because like the tree chose him and the nature chose him. Sigourney Weaver's been putting the time in.
Oh yeah.
Like Sigourney Weaver has been so like immersing herself with them and whatnot, and like learning from them and teaching them and whatnot. She's reading the Lorax because that was on the nose. But no, tree like
what
Jake
about
Sully
Nick
better.
Fury? What about like the actual person who is from the indigenous population, who's obviously just kicking ass at everything?
Yep.
Right? Who is so good at hunting and being in communication with her religion? Why is she not the savior of everything? Like, there was literally not a second in this movie where I bought that he should be the one doing this stuff.
No, it's all insane.
Yeah, it's literally
It
ridiculous.
doesn't pass the Bechdel test.
No.
It is just about, like, it doesn't.
Is it not?
No, not at all. What?
They're not. There's only 2 women in it, Austin.
Hey,
there's
there's
three.
They
three.
don't talk to one another.
There's four.
They don't
There's
talk
four.
to each other.
You got Sigourney Weaver, Michelle Rodriguez,
her mom,
Zoe
Moab.
Saldana, and CCH Pounder. You have a whole 4 women.
And they
in the whole
all
planet.
only talk about Jake.
Yeah, I'm sure that CCH Pounder and Zoe talk about a tree for a bit.
No.
They love that. They love that tree. They love that tree so much.
No, they don't.
That
though.
seems
Like, that's
fucking
not
brutal.
a scene that happens in this movie. Like you would think, but no, because it's about the white guy.
This also, so there's a really great book that I haven't finished reading it, but I feel like I've read enough of it to recommend it, called Braiding Sweetgrass. And it's about a woman who's Native American, who's also a trained biologist. And it's this whole book about her exploring the traditions of her family and like the beauty that she finds in biology and evolution. And she has this whole chapter called Council of Pecans, which is about how so pecans are this special kind of tree where pecan groves all bloom at once and like give pecans, but they all do it at once, and they don't do it like every year. It's just like randomly. But like it's not like one tree will do it and another one won't. And like in her family and like from her ancestry, like what everybody knew is that like they were like, oh, like the trees can communicate with each other. Like that was the narrative. And scientists were like, fuck you. No, that's not true. Nothing is true. That's just some boring bullshit because you're uneducated, you people. And then what science has found out is pecan trees do communicate through their roots, and they can actually share nutrition. So if one tree is super successful at getting lots of sugar and carbohydrates, it can fucking pass it to another tree so that everybody can bloom all at once. And they actually can communicate via tree fucking pheromones. So like everyone's right and everyone is wrong, and it's fucking stupid. And that is what I thought about a lot watching this movie. I was like, we didn't need this. We just did it. And it made me mad that more people know the plot of this movie than probably know about any sort of Native American history in the United States.
Yeah,
that was a lot of emotions.
I did check the BechdelTest.com. I am correct. Avatar does not pass the Bechdel test.
Well, I want to jump off something that JC said there, because like everything is right and everything is wrong is kind of my reaction to Avatar. Because the story is pretty much garbage. Across the board,
Complete garbage, yes.
the story is so simple and stupid. I remember when I saw it first, I saw it at a midnight screening, and before the movie started, the person at the AMC or whatever said, we got this print super late. Kind of everyone did, so we, race delay, but we still couldn't get all of the reels together. So there'll be a moment about 2/3 in where it's going to cut off maybe mid-sentence, they'll be ready to go in 10 minutes. Everyone get a free refill of everything. Sorry about that. Not a big deal.
Wow, that sounds fucking awesome.
But then, like, so that happened the 10 minutes in, and, like, so I was with my friends, and we're talking about, like, super fun so far. But we all kept going, like, okay, so, like, clearly, like, they're doing this whole, like, Jake's the best. He's the best at, like, being a Na'vi. It's going to be a fall from grace, right? Like, he's going to, like, be humbled. And it's not just going to be, like, dumb,
oh,
like...
my sweet summer child.
Yeah, I mean, the story is bad. And yet, while watching this, I kind of, like, was reminded why James Cameron movies are good. Not that this is a particularly good one. In fact, it's possibly his worst. That isn't his discarded Piranha 2 movie. Like, he understands, like, a certain film grammar of entertainment that some people like Spielberg or Zemeckis kind of also have. Like,
yeah,
the story and the characters are bad, and yet, like, when you have, like, one of the times when Jake in the Avatar body is, like, going through, and you kind of have this kind of really awesome moment where, like, you get to see where James Cameron's actual intentions are, where he wanted to basically make 1,000 cool things and just have a bland story kind of walk through it all. And there's this great moment where Jake, like, has there's these giant plants, and when you touch them, it, like, bundles up and goes into the ground. And it's like, such a cool thing. He's touching them, and, like, me as an audience member was like, this is super fun just to even watch. And then he touches one, and it goes down. And there's a giant, like, forest rhino thing. And it's like, oh, fuck, we got to deal with this now. This is the kind of, like, exploration. Here's a new creature you've never seen, and now you're in danger. And, like, it has, like, these, like, natural moments of entertainment. And also some, like, great performances to spite the story in a way. Like, Zoe Saldana is so good. And an insanely thankless performance and mythology.
Yeah. I just, like... That's the thing. Like, it's funny. I enjoyed this movie. The first half of this movie is a lot better than the second half of this movie. Mm-hmm. I think, like, the first half, before it just, like, dives straight into the Noble Savage myth and just, like, doesn't claw itself back out. Yeah, is that, like, cool... It's very Jurassic Park. It's very, like... It's very awe-inspiring.
Yeah, when they get the dragon birds.
Yeah, the dragon birds
cool.
are friggin' amazing. The floating mountains are amazing. I really love the scene when Jake is first in the Na'vi body. Mm-hmm. And because there's just a couple scenes that Cameron does where he shows what he wants in terms of how big the Na'vi are in compared to humans. And that is, like,
super cool.
Because, like, for a lot of the movie, he loses that because they just look like humans. They, you know, like, you adjust your scale, but they, like, in both, like, that scene where he's first a Na'vi, and then also in, like, the final battle scene, they feel very alien. In a very
that, and, like, at the end where Neytiri is holding Jake Sully, like, the actual Jake Sully, I was like, oh shit, I forgot they were big.
Yeah, and it's like,
I forgot they were real tall cats.
And like it feels a little bit more like threatening. Like there's a little more, like, it feels stranger in a way that's good. I wouldn't have minded if it was cliche, if it wasn't racistly cliche. Like, I mind Titanic less. Titanic is a giant cliche fest of stupidity, which I don't like.
I like Titanic.
Well, you're wrong. That's fine.
Yeah.
But it's a giant cliche that isn't, like, actively, like, perpetuating racist myths. And, like, this is a real mess that way. And, like,
it's this, like, love letter to white colonialism that thinks it's subverting that trope.
Well,
I think that James Cameron probably thinks, because, spoilers, at the end, like, the Na'vi win, you know, like, they, like, the invaders leave Pandora, and then Jake Sully leaves his body and becomes a Na'vi, that I think he would say that, like, he is subverting that in a way, or, like, raising it up. Wrong. And it really makes it worse, I think.
Yeah, he's wrong about
He's very
that.
wrong.
And yeah, it's very simplistic. And I do think that, like, I know Austin and I have been talking a lot about the fact that there's 4 Avatar sequels planned, and apparently James Cameron has, like, a full writer's room, including, like, a lot more women, and some, like, interesting
at least one more woman.
At least one more woman, because I imagine that the total number of women was no women.
Well, so this is, like, fascinating to me, because so there are 4 more Avatar sequels coming. First one will be in 2021, that December, and they've even, like, already filmed 2 and 3, essentially. But what they did was, like, for a year or so, James Cameron hired this writer's room, and they, like, developed the story for these next movies. And then, after they kind of broke the story for, like, a long time, he then assigned each person a sequel, essentially. So they didn't know which one they were going to be assigned, so they kind of all broke them together. And then goes, you get 2, 3, and 4. Which makes me more hopeful, because, like, this is clearly just the most bare bones of, like, how to, like, go through the world. It is subverting absolutely nothing.
Right.
And is a bit dull. But, like, now I'm kind of excited for Avatar 2, because, like, I genuinely don't know what it's going to look like. And he spent the past 10 years developing new, like, underwater technology. And his technology holds up so well. Like,
yeah,
this looks so pretty.
Much like Jurassic Park, which is, you know, smart. And we were talking about this with Star Wars last week. There are clearly practical effects at play here, as well as CGI.
I mean, a lot of CGI, but yeah.
But it's a lot of CGI, but it's very well. It is. I can't think of almost any movie I've seen from 2009 that holds up as well in terms of quality of CGI as this does. I mean, I can still tell it's from 2009. It's sort of the way the Na'vi move. Like, we're not at, like, Star Wars, like, Last Jedi and Force Awakens level. Like, we've just, like, literally recreated actual humans who used to be alive. It looks very cohesive. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful film.
Well, it's also cool. When they're in the Na'vi, those are clearly motion capture performances, right? They're all wearing the dots and such. And what's cool is that when you have, like, Sigourney Weaver in the Na'vi Avatar thing, that is very clearly a version of Sigourney Weaver's face.
Yeah, I mean, I know that this movie...
But that's not... So is it Anna's face? Because the Sigourney Weaver character and the Jake Sully character, that was their DNA become a Na'vi. So it has, like, their characteristics, but it doesn't look like Zoe Saldana as Neytiri, because she's not...
But she did the motion capture.
No, she did. So I'm saying they had a different kind of graphic design of, like, for Sigourney Weaver and Sam Worthington, Mr. Bland. Those are, like, their faces. But other than Na'vi, like, that is not what CCH Pounder looks like, or Zoe Saldana. And it's just kind of cool. There's, like, a very, like, clearly all of his focus was on this.
Right, and I mean, it really shows in both a good way and a bad way, right? Like, movies are more than their visuals, and this movie fails on everything except its visuals, but man, are its visuals good.
Right. I mean, they don't at all, like, I think in this scenario, the ends do not justify the means, but it is fucking pretty.
Yeah,
What bugged me more on this viewing was I just thought the villains were so fucking lazy.
Yeah, it's really true.
Sarah can attest this. I just was so angry at the Stephen Lang character, the army. We're not in Kansas anymore. He just, like,
low gravity will make you soft.
He just
know what it means when you're soft? It means Pandora reaches out and takes you right out. You can go on.
Anyone in their right mind would not let him work for them.
Right.
He is so fucking crazy before anything goes wrong that, like, he's a maniac. So when, like, they go, okay, we want to, get the rocks from under the tree.
The unobtainium from under the tree.
Like, Daniel Playview knows how to get that. His idea is to fucking blow up everything. I'm like, don't you want, like, wood?
Yeah,
Do you want to, like, salvage any of this forest? You're just going so insanely nuts.
Yeah.
That he as a villain is so boring. And then, of course, Giovanni Ribisi as, like, the CEO of badness, who just, like, is the laziest person. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, your scientists say that trees have vines? Fuck this.
Let me keep shooting a golf ball into my coffee cup.
You traveled 6 years to Jupiter. Read a memo.
Oh, no.
I hated those villains. And, like, it just so makes the whole, like, back half even stupider because, like, you can have, like, really, like, awkward, interesting conversations about colonialism, but you can't when they're the most cartoonish villains of all time. You go, okay, well, those white guys are bad.
Yeah. And
also,
then, like,
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sarah.
no, I was going to say, those white guys are bad, and I think that, like, he thinks by just having those bad white guys that it means that Jake is the hero. And it's
Yes,
like,
exactly.
No, Jake is also bad.
No, Jake was the best. He got the big dragon bird.
No.
He got the big dragon bird all alone.
You'll see that my cup is empty, so that's why I can learn shit. Fuck off, Jake.
He banged that big dragon because the Na'vi connecting, like, braid shit is very sexual.
The only truly funny part of this movie, okay, maybe there are other funny parts, but the part that, like, I remembered being funny that was still just as funny this time is when like Neytiri is like, we are mated under Iwa, and Sigourney Weaver goes, oh shit. It's really funny.
I think this is maybe one of his, like,
Sigourney Weaver's character actually throughout this entire movie. I think she's a delight. I
appreciate she's a bright spot
as the in-universe person who understands how bullshit everything going around her is.
I was liking her until I realized what this reminded me of. It's a lot like Gorillas in the Mist, where she's Jane Goodall, and that metaphor does not turn out well.
I mean, that metaphor's correct.
I know.
Like, that's what James Cameron means.
Not great.
No, it's
forgot
really
about Gorillas in the Mist. Damn. Is that on the list?
No.
It shouldn't be. It's not that great.
It's not that great, yeah. She's good. But it's
yeah.
Fun. Yeah, this is actually one of his least funny movies because, like, Terminator 2
not funny at all.
Terminator 2 is really funny.
Yeah.
Titanic has its moments. Aliens is really funny.
Yeah, Aliens.
Aliens is one of my favorite movies of all time. Is it on the list?
I believe so.
It better be.
I feel like one has to be either an Alien or an Aliens partisan to a certain extent, and I am an Alien partisan. But I do. Think
I'm an Aliens partisan.
I am Aliens, then Prometheus.
Well, I mean, you can also just be wrong.
Also, I wanted to say that when I was screaming about how everyone and everything is wrong, what I meant by everything is white colonialism.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Just making sure that's clear to our listeners. Got a little caught up in screaming about Avatar.
Why did this tree hate Sigourney Weaver so much? Because, like, Sigourney Weaver's, spoiler for Avatar, is, like, dying. And they put her at the base of the tree. And the tree's like, nah, I'm good. Jake's not doing great. Jake becomes, like, full-time Avatar.
He wasn't dying, though.
He was just like...
Yeah. They were literally just like, let's try this. And he was at his full health. I guess, like, I was sad, but I was like, oh, she's dying. So maybe that affects it. I don't know.
So there's some crazy people who've been signed on for the sequels now. Kate Winslet is worth James Cameron again.
Oh my god.
That's so weird.
Vin Diesel. And I think they added Jermaine Clement like this month.
What?
Yeah. There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
We're going to have 4 or 5 more?
Four more.
Four more, total of 5.
Yes.
Also, I want to shout out, what's his name? Hold, please. I just looked him up. But the guy, his name is Wesley. He plays, I think his name is Atoya Khan. He's like the chieftain at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
Who, spoiler alert, dies. He has just his whole career has just been playing quote unquote ruthless Native American characters, according to his Wikipedia article. And honestly, he deserved a lot better. Yikes. He's still alive. He deserves a lot better. Excuse me.
His character's dead though now in the movie, right?
Yeah.
Very,
Wes Studi. Yeah,
quickly.
He's in Last of the Mohicans. He's in Dances with Wolves.
Oh God, that's so depressing.
I was like, he's in The New World with Terrence Malick, Terrence Malick version.
Damn it.
That movie is so good, though.
Is he an Apocalypto? I feel like that's like the final.
I don't think he is. Wait, let me look at his filmography. Oh, he's in Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee.
Oh, Jesus. In related news, white European Americans created a lot of sadness from war crimes. Not great. And continue to perpetuate the glorification of our worst moments and choices.
This is a terrible fucking movie.
It is a movie. It is a pretty movie.
Yes,
the thing
pretty.
That's weird is that I want to give this movie, like, there's a part of me that's like, well, we have to give Avatar its due. And I'm like, the thing is, I don't feel like it inspired anything. Like, I don't feel like it's the start of anything. Like, there are lots of big movies, even Titanic, which I hate, that is, like, have this, like, make this indelible mark on the culture. And Avatar, like, everyone.
Well, it did one thing, which was encourage bad 3D.
Yeah, right. It like and like everybody's seen it, but I don't know anybody who like quotes it. I don't know anybody who
I just saw it. What quote is there?
Right, exactly, and like it's so. I mean, like, so I think I have to conclude that it's just mostly bad but pretty. Whereas, like, there are other James Cameron movies that I do not like, but I have to admit, like, have value because of something either technical or just, like, in, like, a mark he's left on the culture. Avatar's very pretty. There have been prettier movies in the world since 2009. I don't... Like, they're, like, not as high budget, but, like, Annihilation is a very pretty movie. Like, you know, like, there have been lots of other very pretty movies. Blade Runner, 2049 is a very pretty movie.
That whole sequence in the really shitty Hobbit movies with Smaug and in the mountain with all that gold, that shit looks great.
Yeah, and so I think, like, I don't...
Sure.
Yeah, it doesn't...
It does! Fuck off.
It does. I mean, right, like...
She hasn't seen it.
No, whatever. Like, I understand your point, though. Like, high-budget CGI looks good, and we've made some really pretty things, but Avatar didn't. It's weird. That's why I'm so horrified and intrigued by the fact that there's 4 more of them. Because I don't know who those movies are being made for, and yet at the same time I know that everyone's going to see them.
I'm honestly, after watching this, even being disappointed by it, I'm excited to see Avatar 2 because I just don't know what it looks like. Whereas, like, you know, there's a new Spider-Man movie this summer. I'm going to see it. I'll probably enjoy it, but I know what that's going to look like. Same with, like, the new Star Wars and whatnot. Avatar 2, I straight up have no idea what it's going to be. All we know is it's going to be, like, primarily underwater. That's like
I
all
just
we
feel
know.
like we haven't seen a lot of evidence that James Cameron is going to... that, like, plot is really where James Cameron's gonna shine.
He just hasn't, like, failed yet. It's the weirdest thing. Like, box office wise, that people keep, like, seeing all these movies.
But, like, that doesn't... It does, like, at some point we have to decide, does that mean in and of itself that it's a good movie? Because Avatar, I think, is the ultimate example of an extremely popular movie that I think is not good. Mm-hmm. And, like, it is extraordinarily popular. There are lots of people, clearly, who did not just see it once, but saw it multiple times, you know, but that doesn't, like, I don't know, like, there are people who would say that means it's good. Like, that there's some, like, universal, or, I don't know, like a democratic view of art, sort of, that says, sorry, guys, like, you may be hoity-toity, but, like, the top 10 box office movies of all time are, like, by definition good in some way.
I guess I'm more of, like, there's something about James Cameron's movies that do respond to audiences in a way that, like, no one else's track records do.
But that's also like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
I guess. It's something...
It is. I mean, I think it is. And that's why I'm, like, Avatar 2 might be interesting. I don't get that. What I don't get is Avatars 3, 4, and 5. Like, I'm like, we'll all go see Avatar 2 because who knows what the fuck Avatar 2 is. But once we discover what Avatar 2 is, I don't really see myself thinking Avatar 3 is a good idea.
So, do you want to hear the titles that were kind of leaked about what they are?
Oh my god, please.
Let's see if I can find this. He said these aren't officially there yet, but it's what they're going to probably go for. Avatar 2 is The Way of Water. Avatar 3, they have to change this one. The Seed Bearer.
Ew, no, that's
Gross.
a porn.
Avatar 4, The Tolkien Rider.
The
Tolkien.
which I think are the dragons.
No idea.
Yeah.
And then Avatar 5.
Those are Elkon.
Oh, then I have
This
no
is
idea.
Tulkun.
Are those the horses then? I think they're the horses.
Oh, you know what? You're right. They are the horses.
I mean, you would assume that, like, you can introduce new stuff in 2 and 3 for the fourth
but
title.
the Tolkien are, in fact, the horses.
And then Avatar 5, the quest for Awe.
Okay,
So that's the tree,
that
right?
sounds
The
like
god.
that sounds like a lot like the Hobbit trilogy of like, look, we made up these words. It sounds bad, and I don't want to see it.
It is nice at least that like it isn't like adapting. It is something new, but this was so derivative that's
new
not...
it's not new. Like it's not new. It doesn't say anything new. It doesn't tell a new story.
JC, any final thoughts?
No. Fuck this movie.
JC, what do you give it?
Okay, I gave it 1 point for graphics, 0.75 points for Sigourney Weaver, and 0.75 points for Zoe Saldana, so that's a 2-5.
Okay, once again, I started to write this down, only to res you dum-dums all make changes.
You didn't even let me stop talking.
Changes.
So really, this is your fault.
Added things up. You just weren't listening.
All right, so that's 2-5 for JC.
I'm gonna give it a 3.3. It's very, very pretty. It is nothing else.
I was also going to 3.3, but I'm the one who sounds positive the whole segment.
Right.
And you're so angry. Yeah, so that's Avatar. You probably saw it 10 years ago.
Yeah.
The odds are good that you saw it 10 years ago.
The odds, like, as a human being on Earth with access to a movie theater, the odds are very good. You saw it in 2009.
And you have not seen it since then.
Yep.
It's fine. Sure. Now it's time for the album segment. Sarah, what do we hear this week?
The album was Lupe Fiasco's Food and Liquor by Lupe Fiasco.
When they said it's getting late in here, so I'm sorry, young man, there's no skating here. So we kick, push, coast. And away roll, just a rebel to the world with no place to go. And so we kick, push, coast. So come and skate with me, just a rebel looking for a place to be. So let's kick and push and coast.
Lupe Fiasco's Food and Liquor is the debut album of Lupe Fiasco, who is a rapper. It was released in 2006. Lupe Fiasco has gone on to be a very famous rapper. He's from the West Side.
Only released the 3 albums like he said he was gonna.
Sorry?
I remember when this album came out, or his first one, he was only going to release 3 albums.
I don't know. I don't know. Let me look.
That was like his thing, though.
Lupe Fiasco, no, he has more than 3 albums.
Okay, so he went back on that promise.
Lupe Fiasco is an artist that I know a lot of people who are really into Lupe Fiasco, and it's been recommended to me. He's been recommended to me 1,000 times, and this is the first album that I've listened to of his, and it is so friggin' good. Oh my god. I'm like, oh, okay, this is why people have been telling me to listen to Lupe Fiasco for, let's see, this came out in 2006, 13 years.
Yep.
And yeah, so, I mean, I have a special fondness for this album because he grew up in Chicago. This is a very Chicago album. Food and Liquor is from what that means, and he's quoted this before, is saying in New York you have bodegas, you have corner bodegas, and in the southwest side of Chicago, and actually Chicago in general, you have these little mom and pop convenience stores that have signs up that say Food and Liquor, and that's what it is. This album is a social justice album. It's deeply personal. It's musically excellent. It's just consistently good. All of his rhymes are on. Every song sounds different. But also like it's about something. It was funny. I was reading reviews of it, and there's this like Washington Post review that I'm like, oh, you are very white. That's like, this is responsible rap. There's a die in a fire. But I was like, that phrase is like offensive in its.
Was that a part of like Lupe's like thoughts going into hip hop, right?
So I mean, like, he's a really interesting guy. He is Muslim. He's West African. His dad was a Black Panther, which just like sort of course he is. Like, I mean, yeah. But he was raised in the Madison Terrace houses, which are in Garfield Park, and were, you know, the old school, along with, you know, the Horner homes, like Henry Horner homes and Cabrini Green, like the old school high-rise projects in Chicago in the 80s, where, you know, it was like, which were very violent and pretty hopeless. So he's an interesting guy. He is Muslim. A lot of like his songs are sort of laced with Salam Alaikum, which is on this album, which is like the hello goodbye blessing in Islam. Yeah, it's real good. It's real good. I just like sort of went down a rabbit hole because he's a really smart guy. And like his like on Colbert Report, he was asked like, what's your political philosophy? And his answer was, you should criticize power even if you agree with it, which is a beautiful and succinct and very smart comment. There's a song, gosh, everything is great, but the song Hurt Me Soul, like, whew, which is like, just like, it's just about pain and all of the different sort of levels of pain that people around him experience. Everything from sort of like institutional racism and discrimination to child sexual abuse to, you know, street violence to everything else, and sort of drawing together all of those different kinds of pain into one story. And it's a beautiful song. Yeah.
It's also just insanely well produced.
It's
like,
gosh, it's so
every
good.
like song really feels like such a like coming together of styles, lyrics, and just like really gorgeous music underneath it.
He also, like, his intro, I thought is like really like a "this is who I am" kind of statement. But I also like have a great love for the song Outro, which is an 8-minute last song of the album, which is just like the credits of the album / the acknowledgments that he raps, and it's musically interesting, and it's like partially him being like, you know, here's the people who helped make this album, and partially being like, also thanks to my mom. And it's really great.
Well, it's awesome, right? Because in the age of digital, one of the lost arts is liner notes, right?
Yeah.
And he put them as his final track. And, man, also, like, Jay-Z's on a song?
Oh, well, Jay-Z produced this album. So, like, this is one of the many, like, Jay-Z birthed acts.
That's cool.
It's...
Kanye wrote for a bunch of songs?
Yeah. It's great.
I just put it on my Spotify to download so I can listen to it on the plane tomorrow.
It is, nice. And it's also, like, it's very listenable, and I think it really gets at some of what I like about rap, which is rap's poetry. And he doesn't spit really fast. Like, he's pretty, like, you can very much like understand what he's saying, and he's going for more of like, he really is going for more of like a spoken word or a poetry feeling, but the music is so good. But
it's not slow though, because like I thought not at all. A few weeks ago, like Queen Latifah's was too slow for me. This is like moves in such a nice pace.
He's an amazing musician. I am obsessed. Yeah. 4.8. This is a great album. I can't believe it took me 13 years to listen to it. It's amazing.
Your choice is they brought you to where you are. Home.
What?
I was being Bran.
That works.
Trying to validate you taking 13 years to get to Lupe Fiasco.
Close to
No, I
not
really think that's
referencing-
just my race, my, like, privilege and racism. Like, I don't think we need to validate that.
We were so close to not referencing Game of Thrones this week. It's our first time in, like, 30 episodes. I give it a 4.4. I've only heard it once. It's one of those I think that's going to keep better viewing, and I'm going to have it stay on my phone so I can keep appreciating.
Heck yeah.
It's real good.
JC, you should listen to it and talk about it next week. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
So we can be, 3 white people talking about Lupe Fiasco instead of 2.
Yep.
Speaking of a remarkable number of white people, now it's time for Orphan Black. Orphan Black is a show that aired on BBC America in the U.S., aired on the channel Space in Canada. When did this come out? Aired from 2013 to 2017. It stars Tatiana Maslany, and Tatiana Maslany as a group of women who discover that they are all clones.
The C word.
The C word. What follows is, on one hand, a super intricate conspiracy over conspiracy over conspiracy, discussing genomes and how this happened and if these clones have the ability to reproduce. On the other hand, it's an amazing story of a group of women who were disconnected and find themselves drawn in and become a true family, as you have very distinct personalities of Sarah, a British criminal, essentially.
Yep.
Allison, a soccer mom that a little bit crazy, I feel like.
Allison, no. Well, we'll talk about Allison. Allison's the best part of the show.
Allison, I was about to say, Allison, I really was always in love with Cosima, but Allison is the best part of the show.
Is the best part of the show.
Incredible. Cosima is the scientist who has a girlfriend in the show.
Whose name is Delphine.
They're so beautiful.
Also, this
you have,
this show names its characters very well. I just want to point out it's a quality list.
You have Helena, who initially is a villain who is some Eastern European accent.
She's Ukrainian.
Who is actually insane and wonderful. Rachel, you kind of got the
Rachel's like sort of the insider.
CEO, evil person.
Yeah.
Plus many more clones who will appear. And there's a couple other guys, but they are 7th, 8th, and 9th build to all the Tatiana Maslany's.
Felix is the only one who gets. Felix is Sarah's foster brother.
Yeah.
Who is he's like the other main character of the show.
Yeah, and you got a couple more people who are quite good. The guy who plays Donnie, Allison's husband, is
because Donnie is the second best thing about this show.
You had Michael Mando for the first year before he went to Better Call Saul.
Who was he again?
He was Sarah's ex-boyfriend.
Oh, yeah.
Who eventually, once he learns more about the plot, kind of goes nuts and just
Vic.
yeah.
No, Vic's super fun. Yeah.
He's Nacho in Better Call Saul.
Because eventually he interacts with Allison, and it's great.
Yeah. And Dario 2.0.
Dario 2.0. His name is Cal. Yeah.
So I saw the first 2 seasons when they aired. I stopped watching just because I stopped following the plot, essentially. But for this podcast, I watched all season 3 out of 5. I recommended that Sarah watch the show. Sarah, how much did you watch in a week?
I watched 2 seasons in a week, and we'll probably finish this show. I'm kind of obsessed.
And JC, how much did you watch when it aired?
I think definitely the whole first season and most of the second season, if not all of it. I think I just sort of got lost. I stopped watching because I was totally unable to follow the plot.
See, I feel like I got through the second season and I have a good grip on what's going on.
Maybe with a second viewing I would understand again.
Honestly,
but I had to work at it. It's definitely not Well, it also, like, it has weird touchstones that work for me. Like, I know a lot about genetics, and so the genetics babble works for me. And then they've got this evangelical Christian babble that goes on that I also know a lot about. So I think it was easier for me to follow somehow than it maybe would have been otherwise.
I think also a major component is that, I don't know about you, JC, I watched it, like, actually week to week.
Oh, that's...
So
I did not.
So to follow this story over a 2.5 month period.
Oh, that's seems impossible.
This show, especially since I watched one season in a week, way better in a bingeable format because you can kind of get, like, for me, season 3, even when Sarah caught me up on what's going on in the plot, I still was, that conspiracy was like that conspiracy, this, genome, but I knew exactly emotionally where Sarah, Allison, Cosima, Helena all were. Helena.
Yeah.
So I was able just to follow the characters I liked, and I really just enjoyed being back in this world because it's a really fun world.
Yeah.
They'll just have people holding guns and being upset about science for some reason.
Yeah.
And that to me kind of sums up my initial reaction to the show. But Sarah, I want to know what hooked you to watch essentially half the series in about a week or so.
When I realized that I had 3 favorite characters and they were all played by the same person. I mean, like, Tatiana Maslany's performance in this show is insane. She, like, there are lots of shows where people dip in to playing a twin or a this or a that, particularly
we just
sci-fi.
watched that with Avatar.
Right, like, this is...
Sure.
This is bonkers. I mean, she is, like... She's not, it's not like Sarah is the main character and then there are other clones who drop in. Like, Sarah starts out as the main character, but, like, the ensemble ends up being a number of different characters, half of whom are played by Tatiana Maslany. I mean, like, the technical aspect of it is friggin' bonkers and apparently involves a, like, obsessively timed and computerized camera so that she can basically just, like, play each role and then they can knit it together, which is crazy cool.
Well, yeah, she also has one of the things I really just like about Tatiana Maslany in general is whenever she wins stuff, she always thanks her body double who has to, like, memorize her movements and helps with that process. And I just think that's awesome because people who have super lauded acting performances that need body doubles, cough, Natalie Portman in Black Swan, but always, like, sometimes just act like it's all them when, I don't know, I just really appreciate that.
And this show definitely, like, this show flexes on how cool it is that this woman plays, like, 5 characters. Like, there's a dance. There's a dance party in season 2 that is just like, look what we can do, lol.
Yeah. Season 3, they weren't as mean to her because they had, was it 4 characters having a dance party?
Yeah, it's,
of all her.
Yeah, it's Helena, Allison, Cosima, and Sarah are all in the same place. And
season 3 ends with, like, just a dinner table. So, like, these people, like, sitting. But at one point, they all, like, clinked glasses. I'm like, fuck you, show. That's insane.
I really like, the reason the performance is so interesting to me is that, like, the show from the outset makes some statements about what it's going to do about the idea of this, like, genetic 100% match. And it's not a show where they're, like, they keep finding out that, like, they have the same favorite color and, like, you know, they have similar experiences. Like, it's not at all. They are very different people who are finding a family. They're finding sisters. They're not finding, like, they're not finding clones. You know, it's a different thing. And Sarah has a daughter who's, you know...
Major part of the plot of, like...
Who's a major part of the plot. And so when the other clones, Cosima and Allison and Helena, meet Kira, the daughter, like, one of the things is that all of the clones except for Sarah and Helena seem to be barren, which is also revealed in basically the first episode when Allison has adopted kids. And so, like, it's about finding family, right? And it's about building family out of what you have. And I think, like, the show succeeds in part the show is at its best when it stays pretty light on the mythology and, like, spends most of its time on character. I mean, Allison, who is the soccer mom. Because, like, the first season is really great because there's actually this... I think the reason the first season really works is there's a character who isn't in the show, which is in the first episode, there is a clone named Beth who dies. And Sarah spends a lot of the first season impersonating that character. So there's this sort of... It's really an interesting construction and a crazy cool performance that she's basically embodying this character who you never actually meet. But Allison is... You also meet Allison early on. Allison is a soccer mom. Allison might be a sociopath. Like, I think... Like, she's a lot.
I watched the whole third season. I forget why she decided to start Breaking Bad while running for school council. She just, like, did that, and it seemed like we can start selling pills via soap to all the soccer moms.
She's just this woman who, like, has a perfectly normal, perfectly pleasant life with 2 lovely adopted kids, and then discovers that she's a clone in the middle of a vast conspiracy, and realistically has some kind of mental break at that point, and becomes relatively reliable, but also a little cray-cray. Burns her ex-husband at one point with hot glue, or her husband with hot glue.
Right.
She's a crazy person, and like more than any of the other characters, there will just be sort of Allison tangents, which will wander off into suburbia land. And what's great is that, like, what's fun about the show is, like, they really are they're very aware that it all exists in the same world. So, like, when Allison comes back to the group, she says things like, I'm so sorry to be bothering you with this problem. Like, I know there's bigger stuff going on with, like, a vast governmental conspiracy, but I need to talk to you guys about the school council race. And it's great. Jeez, it's so good.
JC, what initially drew you into the show?
Tatiana Maslany.
Is it... Okay, I gotta ask, JC, every person who has ever recommended me this show is a queer woman or non-binary person. Like, it is like it's like a universal, and is it just that she's hot? Because she is. But, like, what? Why?
I think
Why
it's like
is
the
this
hot
a gay
plus
show?
talent, and there's so many different kinds of hot.
Yeah.
Like, so, my partner and I were talking about how we both really like Cosima, and how Cosima is the only white woman who looks good in dreads.
Yeah.
And how hard that is to admit.
Yeah.
And how we still both really like Cosima. And I think it's like, it's the combo of, like, obviously she's super pretty and she plays all these different characters. And I think it's also just, like, because she's all the main characters, it's definitely, like, very centered in this female narrative. And I think that's also very intriguing and compelling.
Well, and, like, the main male character is also gay.
Yeah.
So there's, like,
did either of you, so I never watched this episode, because I don't know where it's at, but I remember reading that there is a trans clone.
So I actually did watch this episode.
Late season 2.
And it's interesting. Okay. Like, because it's funny, Austin pointed something out to me about it that I actually really like it, the way that they do it.
Well, I had a friend ask about it because I also know queer women who love the show, because I think, like every queer woman I know has seen all of the show. Yeah.
And like it is just my queer female and non-binary friends. The gay men I know do not watch this show. It's like a specific thing. But I think, like, the trans character is interesting. Like, the way that they play it is very much like they are, like, very clear. Like Felix is the person who encounters Tony, the male clone, and he just, like, shuts down any questions about, like, certainly about, like, pronouns and about, like, and basically is just, like, he's just another version of all of you. Like, there's no difference. Austin pointed out to me that it is an interesting and I think non-intended problem or sort of idea that would suggest that being trans is not genetic, in that, like, they have identical DNA, which is a little weird, but the show doesn't really get into that. Like, it's not It doesn't really... It very much is just, like, he's another part of, like, the spectrum of people you could be if you had, like, people... Like, I think a lot of the show is about people Sarah Manning could have been, right? Like, that's sort of... That's, like... And, like, he's just another person that Sarah Manning could have been. But Felix is also, like, immediately in love with him, which actually really, I think, works for Felix's character. Because Tony immediately points out that Felix paints a lot of pictures of Sarah Manning with, like, penises below them. So, like, Felix, like, that, like, I'm like,
is that a thing on the show?
Yes.
Forgot
and,
that.
like, Tony just, like, calls it out, and he's like, yup, totally gonna make out with the male my sister. And I'm like, you know what, like, that works for Felix's character.
Because you were not talking about this the other day about the show, of, like, this is part of the show that I wish they would be able to explain more. Like, I wish they would be able to, like, make the conspiracies more coherent. Because it has things to say about genetics and behaviorism and whatnot, and, like, what you're born with and what you're not born with, and, like, what you are kind of held by your DNA, what you aren't. I find it to be very messy.
Oh, yeah.
In a show that, like, I really wish it had a stronger dissection of it, because, like, every conspiracy doesn't really have enough of their own thesis to go, like, okay, Castor is this, Dyad is this. It is just another X-Files-ish shadowy government.
It's very MacGuffin-y. It's very sort of, we need another plot point for this person to be threatened by this person. And I think, like, that's... The show is about, like, much more of a conceptual point than sort of a sci-fi one. It's about Sarah Manning as a fuck-up, fundamentally, right? And, like, in a number of different ways. Who is learning not to be a fuck up. And these are all of the different, like, it is sort of like, these are all of the different versions of her. Like, and I think that is, like, it works for me in that way of sort of all of this, the same person put in different, like, in different scenarios turns out different ways, and they're all very different people, but it's all sort of a matter of chance and their forgiveness of each other and their ability to, like, as the group of sisters. I really love, for example, how they start to treat Helena, because Helena is crazy. Helena's straight up crazy. And, like,
Helena spends a lot of third season talking to a scorpion and hearing the scorpion.
So good.
Hearing the scorpion talk back to her.
Like, Helena's crazy. And, like, but Helena is also, like, abused and, like, has had, like, by far the worst life of any of them, at least of, like, our main set. And, like, it's about them all sort of, like, finding humanity in each other and being, like the Allison and Sarah conflict, which is basically the first season of, like the most obvious, like, soccer mom versus, like, weird British criminal, like, is, yeah. I just also really appreciate Sarah Manning as a character. There are little things they throw in terms of her life experience that are really rare on television. I was just watching an episode where, like, she's literally being, like, tortured and like, interrogated by, like, some doctor about her fertility, but, like, they ask if she's had an abortion, and she says yes. And, like, that is something that, like, the show does not shy away from women's real lives and what that's like. It doesn't shy away from, like, the pain of infertility and, like, the jealousy that, like, these women have towards Sarah. Like, it tells a lot of stories that aren't being told anywhere else, and I'm fucking obsessed with this show, and we're talking about it too much, but I want to watch it all forever.
Do it.
I will eventually get around to seasons 4 and 5 because it's fun, but I don't have the narrative push of the story, so I don't care about what happens next. I just
it's
enjoy,
kind of
like,
a hot mess, but it's amazing.
Yeah, so I just enjoyed, like, I enjoyed another hour with these 5-6 characters.
Yeah.
So one last thing I want to say about Tatiana Maslany's performance, because not only is she playing, at this point, from what I've seen, I think 9 different clones,
at least,
each with a distinct, like, personality and, like, mannerisms that just go beyond just, like, the hairstyle. Like, you know who it is, which means it's even crazier. And they introduced this pretty much early on in season 1, a plot line where one clone has to pretend to be a different clone. So you're now watching the craziest layered performance of watching Tatiana Maslany.
Yes.
Yeah,
In
it's so crazy.
Character A mimicking character B, who she also plays. But you're watching character A mostly get it right. And those moments are so incredible. And to me, there's only like one great episode of season 3 because there's no conspiracy stuff. It's just dealing with Allison's school council election. But Cosima needs to get a science sample from Allison. And you just kind of watch a whole farce of Cosima and Allison keep pretending to be Allison, essentially.
Yeah.
Of whoever's like being thrown in a room because drug lords want Allison's money back. Cosima has to like jump in and be Allison for like a photo op. Then Allison's back. And it's just so funny and like, and just, her performance is so insanely good.
I mean, I was just watching one where Allison was pretending to be Rachel at the same time that Sarah was pretending to be Allison. Like, it was just like, and like, what I love about the show is that the characters are aware of how bullshit things are. Like, every time one of them recommends this plan, they think through things, and then one of them goes, or I could pretend to be you. And the whole cast, whoever is there at the time, goes, and like, which just makes so much sense to me. Of like, if you had like a bunch of twins, you would do this, but it would be annoying to do every time. By the way, there are way more than 9 clones. There are 10 revealed by the end of the first season. A lot of them are minor, but like there's the German, like there's like the German woman who she meets and who dies. Like there's like so many little different characters that she plays.
I can name 8 that are like have had scenes I remember,
too, yeah.
Or that I saw this morning. But yeah, Orphan Black. I'm gonna give this. I mean, I want to say 3.8, but like it has to be a 4 because of like Tatiana's loan. So 4 for a wonderful experience and a gibberish plot.
4.2 for the same reasons.
JC did not rewatch any episodes, but you still recommend it?
I do recommend it.
If you catch up with any, as anyone can out there listening, it's all on Amazon Prime at the moment. And Sarah probably have it done by next week, so.
Presumably.
So that's it for episode 159.
Yeah.
We're going to be back next week with episode 160, which is crazy to say aloud. And we're going to be doing the 735th entries in all the lists. And they're the following things.
Oh, we're watching Blue Velvet. I'm sorry.
I've never seen it, so I'm stoked.
Have you seen it?
I
Jason?
haven't either.
Everyone, stay tuned for this one. Pedro saw it on first date with his current girlfriend. A thing that he asked me, should I do this? And I go, go for it.
Oh, no, that just reminded me that I saw Booksmart. Everyone should go see it. It's really funny.
I'm excited. I want to see
I
it.
really want to see it.
It's really good.
Awesome.
I forgot that I consumed that piece of media.
Nice. Sarah, what's the album?
The album is Wildwood by Paul Weller.
The song next week is going to be Dub Be Good to Me by Beats International, in addition to the song we didn't cover this week, which is Pop the Clock by Yuffie. And the TV show is a very popular British drama that aired for like years recently called Waterloo Road for a bunch of BAFTAs. Never seen it before. Excited to finally check out this 200 episode mammoth of a popular show. But also, it's episode 160, and for the past like 3 episodes, we have begun the show of us asking Sarah, what are we doing? And Sarah not deciding.
Yeah.
Sarah had an epiphany between episodes.
Yeah.
Sarah, what are we connoisseurs of art?
The Mummy. We're watching The Mummy. The Mummy's the best movie ever. We're watching The Mummy.
The 1933 Universal.
The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. The really good one with Brendan Fraser. That's very silly and very good. And came out in 1999.
Oh my god, this is just pulling me back to that
old.
Me Too article that came out about Brendan Fraser and how much that fucked me up.
Is he canceled?
No.
No.
Oh,
it's like about him as a victim and a survivor.
Right. Shit. No, I do remember that.
It's a really good article.
It is. It's fucking wild.
But there's also a lot of things about the Mummy that are not sad and are great.
Oscar winner Rachel Weisz.
I feel like if the Mummy had come out in 1970, it would have been considered one of the greatest movies of all time.
No,
because it's campy in the way that old movies are.
Save it for next week.
It's just funny. No, the Mummy is great, and I don't want to hear your sass about it. I don't want to hear your sass. I guess that's actually what this podcast is, isn't it? It's me hearing your sass. And we're going to watch The Mummy. The movie's great.
Yep, so everyone...
10 henges.
You all can watch Blue Velvet and The Mummy back-to-back.
Those make sense.
I would recommend you watch The Mummy first. You know what? Live your peace.
Yeah. Live your own life, man.
So yeah, that's going to be our next week episode. Until then, you go over to artimore.com, check out any other episode of this show. Leave us a comment to hear your thoughts. We'd love to hear your thoughts on anything we've covered. Check out other podcasts like Let's Take 5. That whole library is complete. And Ad Absurdum, which I'm going to say is going to have an episode this month.
It could happen.
I believe in you.
Stranger things have happened.
Special thanks to Adam Lord for all the great music he does. Follow us on Twitter at the Immortals Pod. Leave us a review on iTunes or any sort of podcasting app you use. Help people find the show. I really appreciate it. Until next week, I'm Austin.
I'm Sarah.
I'm JC.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.